the mic.
We are recording.
Oh,
this is a great episode.
Okay,
So tell me where we're at.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of The Weigh-In. The title of today's episode is How Not to Panic.
Easier said than done.
Easier said than done. So,
What the fuck was that?
I don't know, but I'm not panicking.
That's a locked up breaker or something. Or
Yeah,
tire.
that shit's crazy.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, sorry about that. We interrupted that.
Yeah.
We interrupted that episode.
Yeah.
Okay, let's start from the top, please.
So, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of The Weigh-In. Today's episode is titled How Not to Panic.
Easier said than done.
Yo, so today, so I don't know when this episode is going to get dropped, when we're going to drop it, but as of today, it is March 8th. So anybody that's alive right now is thinking about the coronavirus.
COVID-19, baby.
Yeah, so we're not going to talk about the coronavirus, but we are going to talk about how not to panic in general.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea.
So for me, it's all about pre-panic. So like you have to prep yourself to not panic, you know. So one thing, first of all, get quality sleep. If you go back to our episode on sleep, you understand how important sleep is. But one of the things that happens when you do not get good sleep is that you raise your levels of cortisol.
True.
Cortisol is a stress hormone, and that's going to cause you to be more anxious. That's going to build the anxiety. And like once you start building anxiety, you start to perceive life as a little bit more dangerous. You know, like everything is not what it should be. So you always want to make sure, first thing, whatever the situation is, get proper sleep. Second thing is, if you're in a stressful situation, alcohol is not the way to go. Sorry, Henny.
I know, right?
The thing about alcohol is that it reduces levels of serotonin. Now, serotonin is a neurotransmitter that regulates mood, sleep, memory, sexual desire, social interactions, appetite, and digestion. You know, so when you're not producing enough serotonin, your anxiety levels are going to go up. And unfortunately, sorry everybody, alcohol inhibits the levels of serotonin that you're going to produce.
Well, okay, we live in a stressful time, as you know, and I think everything that hits people nowadays automatically gets modified by multiples of outrageous numbers.
Yes, sir.
And like you say, coming out of the gate, you got to take care of your body, you got to be in good shape, you got to sleep, you got to feel strong.
That's the first line of defense.
Without a doubt. And like folks like us who live up in the Northeast and stuff, we have a tendency to run into the fluctuations in the weathers. So a lot of times people don't wear scarves, they wear sneakers when it's wet outside and it's snowing. You know, the sniffly noses and stuff.
You got to be prepared to go out into the environment, whatever, and the changing environment, especially up north that we have.
Yeah, and a lot of times people also get funky up this area because it's a lot of gray that occurs, and that gives them a lot of anxiety level because there's not a lot of sun, not a lot of vitamin D happening, and all those things.
You get that seasonal onset depression because you're not getting enough sunlight, and you need the sunlight to naturally produce vitamin D. But you can supplement vitamin D.
Yes, you can. Yes,
I do. Like I supplement vitamin D. Wintertime I take 10,000 international units. Summertime I take 5,000 international units. Only because I work a lot, so I'm not outside in the sun. Your daily exposure is supposed to be at least 30 minutes. Honestly, I guess more accurately, it should literally probably be an hour and a half. 30 minutes is full body exposure.
Sure.
So if you got clothes on, the light's not penetrating, so you want to at least get, an hour on the safe side and supplement.
Yeah, well, I supplement as my regular regimen of pills and things that I take in the morning. I think it's either 2,500 or 5,000, mgs.
International units,
yeah. International units is what I take. That's all part of what my doctor wanted and things of that nature in general. But, I mean, who's got time if you're a busy person to have an hour and a half to walk around in the sun?
Yeah, so you got it. So you have to supplement.
And there's other things you can do, too. You got to get a lot of water in you, too. It's the main thing that flushes your system out.
Yes.
No matter what you have, it could be a cold or just in general, it'll bring back strength. A lot of people don't realize it when they're mopey, they're not feeling right, things are bothering them. They're basically in the early stages of a form of dehydration.
Yes.
Because it doesn't come in the full-blown, like I'm totally dehydrated. There's different levels of it. I think everybody goes through different levels and doesn't even realize it.
No, absolutely. You definitely need the water. That's a good point. So just to tie off on the segment that we are in now, stay away from the fast food. You know, the fast food's not going to do anything for you. You need like the whole foods that actually break down the macronutrients and the micronutrients and give you what you need to sustain and maintain and be, you know, and have the vitals that you need as a young man, young woman, older person, whatever. So leaving, you know, the food section and what you're ingesting, meditation. And I come back to meditation a lot.
I know you do.
But you need to meditate before you leave the house. Meditation, I do it every single morning, at least 20 minutes. You know, I mean, sometimes I wake up late, I can't do it, but it is a staple in my wheelhouse. And what the meditation does, and I've said it many times, one day I'll do a full episode on it, it stimulates the vagus nerve. And the vagus nerve is part of the, you know, the central nervous system, and it helps the body communicate to the mind that you're not in a stressful situation. So all that deep breathing, you know, all that focusedness, all that deconnecting, you know, from external stimulus and kind of paying attention just to your breath and to your body. Meditation is crucial. Like, well, I'm a huge advocate.
I know you are, and I totally agree myself. I wish I actually had time to do that, but I don't. But I do know that a lot of people don't realize that is the best, one of the best things you could be doing, because
and it's free. Yes.
Yeah, exactly.
And
there you go, right? And a lot of times there are people, the people who are riding their bikes, doing the Pelotons and all those kind of things, they are actually, they are in a form of meditation. They've reached a zone.
Yes.
When they're doing it. So there's different ways.
Go ahead.
There's different ways of obtaining that when you're doing physical exercise.
Yes.
You can even get there with weights too, but you got to really be concentrating.
Yeah, that mind-body connection. When I used to run, I used to get into a meditative state. I knew that intuitively because I'd be running and I'd just be like, oh shit, I feel good, and I'm not really paying attention to what's going on. I'm just kind of in the zone.
You're in a total zone.
Yeah.
A couple other ways that I actually believe that you do a lot of meditating naturally is you don't realize reading is one of the strongest ones also. It puts your mind at ease. It takes a lot of the edge off. And that also gets you stronger all around, all the physical attributes that you talked about. Reading is key to that. People sometimes draw, they paint, they do different things. They play instruments. Meditation is in our life a lot.
Disconnecting yourself from your regular social interactions and all the, you know, detrimental, you know, stimulus that can come along with that. So moving into supplements, you know, and I'm not a doctor, I'm not telling anybody to go out, but if you want to do some research and you find that it's okay after consulting with your primary doctor, ashwagandha, which is an adaptogen, Rhodalio rosea, which is also an adaptogen, and what they do is they communicate, and without any meditation or any help on your part, they tell the body that everything's okay, so you should be calm. Also, there's 5-HTP, which is an amino acid precursor to serotonin. So if you take 5-HTP, it helps you to produce more serotonin.
Now, these are all obviously supplements you buy in a store.
Yeah,
right, per se?
The body will naturally produce 5-HTP, but you want to give it that boost. You know?
Okay. How about the other things you talked to just prior to that? Does our body develop some of the things?
No. The ashwagandha and the Rhodalio, the body does not. Those are herbs, though. They're not drugs. There's a great divide of difference. So herbs are natural things that you can take, you know.
And they're supplementing other parts of your body, and they're actually giving it a boost, or is it doing something by itself?
They're just producing calm in the body.
Calm.
They get you into the nice brainwave state, and they just make the body overall.
And that connects. And it connects a lot with the meditative world. Also, there's a lot of things like that are taken when you do pure meditation.
Yes, absolutely. So now there's the Navy SEAL breathing technique.
Oh,
so say somebody comes up on you, you know, maybe there's some gunfire, your wife's in your face, and you start feeling aroused, you start feeling anxiety, you start feeling the panic. So the Navy SEALs developed this technique that will allow you to start becoming calmer instantly. So what you do is you inhale for 4 seconds, then you hold for 4 seconds, then you exhale for 4 seconds. And while you've exhaled, you hold that for 4 seconds.
Interesting. And how many cycles of that do you need to do, though, to get the reaction?
However many that you need. So I've tried it before, and for me, it takes only, and I'm a pretty chill guy, so it only takes 2, maybe 3 at the most.
Okay. I like that. I do a variation of that too. Sometimes at night when I go to sleep and I put my breathing mask on for the evening, and sometimes when you're moving around and stuff, you have a tendency to get your heart rate up because I usually go to bed slightly after I have a little mini nap. I wake up and go, all right, it's time to go hit the sack. And when I lay down, I notice that my heart will be racing slightly because your body is it came to wake, it came alive again. So
it's like, okay, we got to get going. What's going on?
So I breathe nice and strong for about 4 or 5, 6 of those. And then I try to get into a cycle of normal. So I'm not doing exactly the Navy technique.
You should try that.
I'm going to try that version.
The 4/4s.
I'm going to try 4/4s. Yeah. That's the best way to remember it, too. 4/4s. I like that. Thank you on that
FF, baby.
Yeah, right.
So, now, I'm not going to go into a rant on this, but I love Tim Ferriss. I'm a Tim Ferriss groupie.
Tell us a little bit more. Tell us some good stuff about Tim.
So, Tim has an operating system for thriving in high-stress environments that he calls fear setting. And I've talked about this with you offline.
I think you've brought his name up maybe?
Yeah,
This is the first time we're going to talk in depth about him.
Yeah. So the first thing is to define the problem. Whatever the problem is, you need to define it.
Sure.
Obviously. Okay. Now, the second thing is conceive if you can prevent the problem from happening. Okay. And if you can, obviously prevent the problem from happening. The next thing that you want to do is figure out how to repair the problem, and how much of the problem is going to set you back, how far is going to set you back, and how long is it going to take for you to get back to baseline. So say like you lose your job. So
Gotcha.
Fear setting would be like, okay, I lost my job. That's the problem is I won't be making income to support myself, my family, whatever. Okay, can I not lose my job? Can I, I can't. Can I get my job back? No. Okay, how long is it going to take for me to find a new job? Do I have enough money, resources, whatever, saved up, to make it without having a job? What do I have to do in the between time till I get the job? And whatever goals I had that I needed money, since I don't have money now, how long is it going to take me to get back to that? That right there is fear setting in a nutshell. Well, so you're defining the problem so it doesn't seem as big.
Yeah, well, I think we all have a tendency, people who have maybe a slightly better head on their shoulders already kind of break things down into a common sense type of situation where you know how to deal with it. It can still lead to a little stress here and there. And, we had talked about Tim's techniques briefly offline before we had an episode going on his subject about him. And he's just reiterating the fact that use common sense stuff. You can get a little wigged out, but if you can pull it together, once you start moving, can't sit in a chair and just pout and worry about it. You got to get out.
I think defining and actually not letting, I think when you define the problem and you try to structuralize it and saying, okay, what's going on? How do I, solve it? Will I be able to solve it? What's going to take for me to get back to where I was, at this point in the future? You start to rationalize and it's not as big.
Yeah, because you don't want to just jump into pure panic. You're not. All you're going to do is just kill yourself.
Absolutely.
I don't mean like literally, but you're just going to cause yourself.
You're gonna get too stressed out to actually even be able to tackle the problem.
And that's how people actually have bad reactions. If they're in situations, they talk to people, or they're driving, or they
that's how they get overwhelmed.
That's right. That's right.
They don't actually define the problem.
Yeah, you're right.
So the next thing is leverage divergent emotions. Human beings cannot hold and experience two emotions at the same time. If I punch you in the face, you get mad, you can't be sad. So like, you ever see somebody in the old movies, they would do somebody's in hysterics and they slap them?
Yeah.
Well, they leave that hysterical emotional state because now they're mad.
Yeah.
But now they can focus and they're not, all over the place. They're not panicking.
Right. So that's how you come out of it. So glass of cold water.
Yeah.
Slap in the face.
So sometimes you want to dig into emotion, get a little mad, and say like, instead of panicking, use anger, use that aggression and be like, okay, this is going on. Well, I need to find a new job, or I need to get a new girlfriend, or I need to stop this dude from, bullying me. Whatever your problem is, leverage a different emotion. You want to change your mood, not your mind. Like it's going to be too hard for you to try to change your mind. So change your mood first.
It sounds to me like that would be kind of maybe one of the more difficult ones for most people. But if they actually follow the great set of plans that you laid out today in this episode, I mean, you should be able to tackle the end piece you just talked about the most.
Absolutely.
And I think it's like a regimen. It's almost like follow this, and you'll be much better. Obviously, so easier said than done, but you have to at least try.
Absolutely. So the last thing I want to talk about is gaining altitude on the problem, and this is my personal technique from my wheelhouse. So say I lose my job, or say my job's not giving me enough money. I want to get a house, I want to get an apartment, whatever. Gaining altitude is just, okay, become bigger than your problem. So if I'm not making enough money, then I get me a job where I'm making more than enough money, then that's not an issue anymore. If I'm sick, if I'm overweight, if I'm not in great health, get my body into pristine shape, then that's just not a problem anymore. Get bigger than your problem. Gain altitude on the problem.
Like look at it from another point of view.
Not just look at it
the
from
outside looking in.
Not
looking above yourself.
Not just look at it from a different point of view, but just become bigger than your problem. Like this, at the level that I'm at, these problems don't even exist for me anymore. You've gained altitude. You're bigger than your problem. You might end up having bigger problems, but the little problems, they won't affect you anymore.
And you have to try these things one way or another. You can't say to yourself, like, this is probably too much for me to tackle, whatever it might be. You need to try it, because you will learn to get better with it, and 100%. Eventually it'll be perfect. You can't throw it down and say, all right, that's it, done, it didn't work. You got to try again.
You got to try.
And, you cannot just you can't cop out and throw the towel in.
That's it. Ladies and gentlemen, that's the weigh-in.
Weigh-in, thank you.
Don't panic.
Great episode.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Good job, sir. I like what you say. You bring it out nicely.
Yeah.
You're making me a better man.
Yeah, no, we make it, we feeding off each other. Men, what I've diagnosed just watching society, it's the ego that really gets us.
We do have an ego problem. We really do. It's a fragile ego too. We are really worried about being slapped in the face and whatnot. But a strong male, or somebody who could succeed in the situation that we're talking about, knows how to cope with that correctly and doesn't let it become something that's going to be a detriment to his personality. I mean, nobody wants to look bad at a party, or say some other dude who's got another A personality dude over there. And
A-type.
A-type, and he cuts you down.
Yeah.
You can't just automatically become confrontational. You need to actually know how to comment correctly.
You need to be strategic.
Yeah, and you look actually still good in the conversation.
Yeah.
Well, you're strategic in the move. You actually look better than the attitude he tried to bring on.
Because you're still maintaining that prestige that you had when you came into the confrontation, and you're like, okay, I'm being tested right now, but I'm handling it with composure. I'm handling it calm.
Yeah.
So
it's an offensive move in a strategic situation that you actually won on.
Yeah, I would say it's an offensive defense. And not trying to be
I know what you're getting at.
Pseudoscience, but
so you can move forward, but you know how to back. You're defending your personality also at the same time. That's actually a hard thing to pull off, and a lot of people don't get that. As males, we already have a tendency to get defensive in that situation.
Because that's the one place that we feel like
our comfort zone's been jeopardized?
Yeah, like we feel exposed, so we want to cover it up
Sure.
immediately.